Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Resources consultant Dr. John Bristow recently warned that there was an urgent need to explore, develop, and instill a junior culture in South Africa's resources sector. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer recently sat down with Dr. Bristow to discuss. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Now, Bristow suggested an exploration, development, and mining approach with enabling policy.
You know, I think that you need to integrate this, the big and the small and the medium and the state and everything that's involved, to really look at creating a junior culture. We don't have this in South Africa because we've had such huge ore bodies. We also don't have that many geologists like they do in other countries. If you look at Australia, you see a lot of geological input there. We had such big ore bodies. You know, our Watersrand gold ore body was so huge that they really left it to the engineers and said, you know, you carry on, put your shafts there. And they never really studied it properly. And it's the same with the massive big platinum endowment we've got. It's so huge that they don't worry enough about the geology, which they should be doing. And often the juniors come through the geological ranks. You can find that some of our most successful miners have come through the geological ranks. And it's important, that insight is very, very important, because that's where all your wealth lies. Hopefully we'll get a new culture, even if we do rely on a bit of leadership from Canada and from Australia to show how it's done and what they're doing now in Chile and Peru. I mean, we should look at Peru. They are really getting things right when it comes to projects coming through. We need those projects coming through, big and small. And we need more companies on the stock exchanges. When you look at the number on the Australian stock exchange, the mining companies there, huge number, 600, and when you look at Canada, you know, hundreds on the exchange, whereas we don't have that number here in South Africa. We haven't cultivated that. The investors have been big institutions, and they wanted big companies, and they wanted that sort of backing. It's also been a lot of pension fund money, etc., so they've had to be cautious. You now have to have a more entrepreneurial spirit, because we're really starting from scratch again. But one of the big things is that even after 150 years of diamond mining, you can still see the opportunities. People are saying there are massive opportunities here. You know, the prospects here are better than anywhere else in the world, a lot of them are saying. Still, you know, 150 years later. And it probably applies to a lot of the other metals and minerals as well. So the time has come to start again, as it were, start afresh. And we could have a lot of activity. And this would really be transformation as it should be, because this would be black-led enterprises coming through, black-owned, and then listed at certain points. As you go up that value curve and you prove up, you then normally list, or you get a big partner, because you've done the hard yards of discovering what is actually there and delineating it. And often then they pass on to a bigger company. But as is being said by Dr. John Bristow, you know, perhaps you can go for the discovery, development, and the integration of the whole movement, which is also a good thing to do, that people should remain juniors perhaps, but go into junior mining as well.
Now, he also called for real leadership. What did he mean? Yeah,
well, you know, the real leadership has probably got to come from a multiplicity of places. They've got to sit down. There's got to be a sort of a situation where we arrive at a point and say, this is where we've got to go, and then have a champion to move it through. We haven't seen anything from our Department of Mineral Resources. We've just seen the opposite. You know, they take us in the opposite direction. We find that a lot of graduates are coming through universities. They've gone through the mining process there because they've been told there's a lot of jobs in mining, and now they're sitting with nothing. You know, a geologist had a sign the other day saying, I'm unemployed. Here, we haven't given the opportunity to these people coming into the job market at the moment. Even though we've encouraged them over the last 2 decades, now suddenly the DMR particularly has snarled things up to a point where there's just nothing for these people to go into. And they probably do something outside of the country. You know, we used to import a lot of mining people because we also had too few. Other countries are starting, the turn is starting again, and it'll be a pity if we find that we can't employ the graduates that have come through the universities, and these people then have to go into IT, or they go into other things, and not what they were trained to do. simply because of bad leadership by government. That's the starting point. And we also need strong co-leadership from the private sector. It needs to be a joint effort. We need to know where we're going. Other countries do. You can see Australia spending a lot on encouraging people to do exploration, encouraging those, putting hundreds of, tens of millions of dollars into encouraging the entrepreneurial activity by juniors to come in and start exploring around Australia. We know that Canadians have had that flow-through scheme for a long time. That has incentivized a lot of small companies. We don't have that here. We need something. So someone to lead that through, but they also need to be able to dispense what is available to lessen the risk, because this is high-risk stuff, and you need a lot of dedication. But the reward can be huge, as we've seen with some people who have succeeded. So I think that people need to realize both. There is risk, hard work, but also reward, and that could get the movement going, which we need.
Now, Bristow also called for a transformation and education in the industry and called for new entrants.
Yes, that's right. With these new entrants, I mean, we're talking about transformation of this industry, which means that there are historically disadvantaged people very active in there. We've seen them come in as passengers largely. They've taken positions in BEE situations. So it's been largely around finance, and the finance side has been emphasized, not the mining side. We now need people to really take the mining side very seriously. We need a cadastre. We need a management of the mineral rights system, so that people can do what they do in other countries, including in Africa. You know, that mining cadastre used in Mozambique and a lot of the other countries in Africa is developed in South Africa. But we don't use, our own innovations. These are recognized by other countries. So the company that produces this finds it's not selling in South Africa, but it's selling just about everywhere else. We need to say, look, we've got something here, put it in. The system they've got in the Department of Mineral Resources has disappointed everybody. I mean, I was there at the launch, I was happy, I thought this was going to be good, because they said you can sit in New York and see what's available in South Africa, but that's not the case. People say it is really a bad system that just leads you nowhere. You don't get to know anything. It's not transparent. We need a transparent system. People should be able to sit at their desk and find out what mineral rights are available, or otherwise who's got those mineral rights, so they can partner with them, so that you can have these partnerships developing, get some momentum going. Because the state took over the custodianship of the assets in the ground, and that became following of global best practice. So we used to have the private sector actually controlling the mineral wealth. When the democratic process took place in South Africa, they decided to follow global best practice, and they introduced a use or lose through a cadastre system like that. They should now apply it, but it must be good. You must be able to have a transparent system, knowing what's available, knowing what's out there, and also apply the use or lose. Apparently now people have got the rights, and they've got no inclination to actually exercise those rights. They're not too sure what they're all about. So the dishing out of these has been clandestine. When you ask the department for a list, they say, no, you can only find out from the people who get them. Now, how do you do that? And this has been going on. We've been asking for ages. Everybody's been asking. You get no answers. So that has got to be cleaned up. And it won't be difficult. We can see how quickly other countries have done it. And then that can really set the ball going, because you'll get new emerging people in. And we'll know that there's a lot of appetite of South Africans who've gone out. They've gone to live in Canada. They've gone to live in Australia. They're doing that in other countries. They're also doing it in Africa. They've come through with investments here. Those South Africans will be keen, that diaspora will be keen to come back in. I mean, I've already had a story from one who's just returned to South Africa. He said he read the market well. He's in a particular metal, and he's read the performance of that metal very well. He's been correct. He's also now betting on a turn in South Africa So he's brought his whole family back, from Australia. Some people can see the future in that way, and they're betting on it. So a lot more of that could happen. There is that expertise out there. We've had a lot of expertise. It can come back. Even if it comes back in a partnership sort of form, we could see a lot of activity, which is what we need. I mean, just look at the diamond field. We have De Beers with 54 applications for exploration in over 2 years and not being granted a single one of them. Now, in 3 years, the Voorsput mine in the Free State closes. So De Beers is left with Venetia. They needed by now to have augmented and replaced what they're going to lose in Venetia, in Voorsput. They haven't been able to do that because of government inaction or blockages. You can't get to the bottom of it. You don't know whether it's exactly what it is, but they're not approving these applications. From the people who want to do this, they're prepared to take the risk because they're saying South Africa is still highly prospective. We can see a lot of good things there. We've kept a lot of documentation over 150 years, but now with new technology, we could open up a lot. For some reason, the Ministry of Mineral Resources and the Department of Mineral Resources doesn't allow this to come through. And in actual fact, they are sabotaging the economy because you've got these youngsters now coming in. They need jobs, and they haven't got any. And it's all because of this obstruction that's been taken. It's self-inflicted, which is ridiculous.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.